Chapter 13. The morning of our departure, the community was awakened at 3 o'clock by the voice of the chela chanting. We were aware that something unusual was happening, as he was inviting all to come forth for a moment. As we stepped out from the temple, the light from the Pura Tat Sangha blazed forth so brightly that the whole section was aglow. The cella stood on the corner of the temple and asked for a silent contemplation. We could see hundreds of forms standing with their arms upraised. The silence was broken by the words, "Hail, hail, hail!" The master Purichi chants. The thousands of voices joined in. The echo gave the effect of many more thousands. In the stillness of the morning, every word could be heard. These were his words. Could there be a God of the Hindu, a God of the Mongol, a God of the Jew, and a God of the Christian? There is a true universal principle, director, primal, infinite, and divine. The central light of that principle is called God. God must enfold all. God does enfold all. All are God. This surely does not mean God of just one and not for all. When we speak of God, we speak of one and all, for all, in all, through all, and of all. Should the Hindu name his God and say there is no other, his thought is divided. Should the Mongol name his God and say there is no other, his thought is divided. Should the Jew name his God and say there is no other, his thought is divided. Should the Christian name his God and say there is no other, his thought is divided. The house divided until itself is shattered and must fall. United it does maintain forever. Choose you whom you will serve. Division is failure and death. Unity in the father-mother principle is eternal progress, honor and dominion. A-U-M, A-U-M, A-U-M. It seemed as though this reverberated around the whole world. We could hear the echoes of the reverberations for at least 10 minutes, as though a temple gong had sounded. At times it seemed as though the rocks themselves were giving forth the As these reverberations gradually ceased, all gathered in the great rock amphitheater below us, and we joined the assembly. When we were seated with our group, Yogi Santi raised his arms above his head and, in unison, all chanted the as before. Again the rock seemed to send forth the vibration. This lasted till the meal was finished. As we arose, we all stood silent for a moment, then sang the Chela. We shall bid you farewell, and our greatest blessing we leave. As we depart from your most gracious presence, may we ask the honor of a return welcome. We hesitate to depart, and know that we with longing hearts and eyes shall look forward to our return. We bid you farewell. May the richest blessing of that is holy be bestowed upon you. The reply came as though with one voice. Loved ones, we are never parted. Though you may think space separates us, not so. Distance has no power to separate, for God and yourself permeate all space. We need not even say farewell, for we see you at all times, face to face. You do not go, you do not come, you are always here. There is no time, no parting, no passing. The present is here, hence the future also. Where can we be except we are all together in God? Do not go hence, but come hither, and you are always here. As the last words floated out to us, we were well out on the trail. While our steps were retreating, we were still there. There was no parting, and we have never felt that we actually left that sacred place. All day long the cello laughed and sang. Again his laughter and song lifted us bodily, as it were, over the most difficult places. We arrived again at Mahamuni, the Silent One, at 2 o'clock that afternoon. Instead of stopping for the night, we pushed on, and though we traveled for 16 hours and covered over 70 miles that day, we were not fatigued. Thus we traveled to Sandrawar. Here we were conducted to a beautiful temple near the lake, where we rested for 2 days before pushing on through the Trans Himalaya Pass. This is a near paradise. The lake rests like a jewel in the great mountain setting. Birds sang from the trees all about. Here the greater portion of the party lived. We would go on to Muktinath with Yogi Santi. The laughing Chela accompanied our party. We had often heard of the difficulties of this pass, but although we were many days on the trail, we encountered very few difficulties and reached Muktinath in due time. There we were again greeted by Emil and a number of our friends. No words can convey the pleasure we experienced at this reunion. We had traveled far and had been accorded the greatest hospitality and kindness, yet here we experienced the thrill of a true homecoming. While we were relating some of our experiences that evening, Emil said, "Now you know why the Tibetans, at altitudes of 21,000 feet, are apparently undisturbed with heavy loads upon their backs. Now you know how they climb the Mount Everest as they claim. They go to the crest of the god of the mountains, as they call Mount Everest. They overcome, or come up over, the god of the mountain, just as they overcome the god of any burden. In other words, they let go the burden, then the burden does not exist. You cannot put a burden upon the shoulders, much less upon the form of the true God-man. Now you may see the truth in Jesus' statement, 'Come unto me, all ye that are weary and heavy laden, and I will give you rest.' The true statement was, 'I am does give you rest.' When you rest in the I am, you change from the God of burden to God that is rest and peace. You have come up over the God of burden to the Father of rest. Therein you carry no burdens. God the Father is man's power to think rightly and directly through any condition. Man, as the poor worm of the dust, is not in God consciousness. This is man expressing in the worm consciousness only. If you are shooting at the target and you wish to hit the mark, you must focus your whole thought upon the center of the target. Then, with your will in complete focus, you must see nothing but the mark. When you have hit the mark, you have brought forth or accomplished God in a degree. God is your divine ideal, the focal point upon which every thought and act is centered. It is in this way that you bring forth the divine spiritual man, the Christ of God, the Word made flesh. The flesh is God, as well as God is around the flesh. Make your subjective one objective, a willing and all-wise worker with God principle. Head straight for your objective. Make the objective the divine spiritual life that God within you is, and God sees for all. No one ever accomplished anything unless, with all his will in complete focus, he held his objective, God, directly before the pure mirror of his thought force. That thought force is himself acting as God, demanding of himself that his attention be so thoroughly focused upon his objective, God, that it, God, is brought forth instantly. The instant God is objectified. Present the mold or pattern you desire, and it is filled full. If this were not an absolute fact, you would not, nor could you, have thought of your desire. When your desire is set forth in this way, it is divine. With your divinity always projected, your desire is conceived in divine order. It is wholly within your power to say when it shall come forth. You are always in command. You have all power to speak the word of authority. To all outer things, your command is complete silence. Now you can say definitely and knowingly, there is no greater power than the Christ within me. I now send forth my Christ endowed word. It does accomplish all things instantly. There is no greater driving force than my Christ endowed word. I praise, bless, and send it forth with abundance, harmony, and perfection. You have first spoken the word, God, which represents your true desire. Never go back again to the asking. This attitude engenders doubt. But go on, recall what you have done. You have put forth your Christ word. You are in command. The thing is finished and complete. It is in divine order. I thank you, God, for life and light, abundant, full, and free, for perfect, boundless wealth and power, unhampered liberty. Recall that if any two unite their spiritual force, they can conquer the world, even though singly they can do nothing. These two are God and you, united in one purpose. If others will unite with you with the same sincerity of purpose, your power becomes greater as the square of the number of persons. Thus, every person standing forth, one with God and united with you, becomes the power that is increasing fourfold. If two of you shall unite with God as touching any one thing they shall ask, it is done for them of my Father. My God becomes your God, and we are together. Together with God, man conquers that which is not godlike. Go into your closet, your God self. Shut the door to all else. Close the outer eyes. See singly your true God self. You have quietly put yourself into a spiritual receptive mood. God principle is the one point. I am one with universal life energy. It is flowing through me now. I know it. I feel it. I thank God, my Father, that I have the ability to accomplish all things. When you pray to God with I am in direct contact with all universal life energy, you are using it in limitless measure. God is the name you give to the all wise, intelligent spirit, and this spirit is within as well as without every human being. It is necessary for you to let God stand forth through you into outer expression. Therefore, it is not necessary to seek knowledge and help from outside sources when you know that the source of all knowledge, the spirit of all knowledge, the understanding truth is latent within you. Why seek knowledge from without as God, the universal spirit, is within? Through this understanding, you call on this principle. When you accomplish any one thing, you know that the God within the greatest of teachers. You realize that all the power you possess is first drawn to you, then generated within your body, and sent forth to accomplish whatever you direct it to bring forth. This is God emanating through you, not a personal God, but an all inclusive God within you. When you let God stand forth from within, you are connected with God, as God interpenetrates all conditions. By worshiping God within and seeing God standing forth from you, you are worshiping God, the deity in the whole human family. To worship an outside deity is to bring forth idolatry. To worship God within and to see God standing forth from within out to all the world is to bring forth and be in conscious contact with the emanations of God life and light everywhere. There cannot be a deity outside of your body that is not within your body, as all is vibrating or emanating energy. Thus, These vibrations flow through your body as well as around it, and the vibrations of deity include every atom of your whole body as well as the whole mass of the universe. Thus you put God everywhere, before all, within all, around all, enveloping all, and enfolding all. There is not an atom of space that does not have the emanating energy of light and life flowing through it. Having finished this discourse, Emil stated that they would meet us in Hardwar and bade us good night. Chapter 14. As we neared Hardwar, about a day's journey from the city, we stopped at the home of an American whom we called Weldon. He gave us a hearty welcome and insisted upon our remaining with him for a few days. Weldon, a well-known writer who had lived in India for many years, was in sympathy with and deeply interested in our work. He had asked several times to join our party, but circumstances had been such that we could not include him. As we sat in his garden next day, relating our experiences, Weldon suddenly remarked that he had never fully accepted the authenticity of the history and life of the man called Jesus of Nazareth. He had studied available records carefully, but they had all seemed vague and lacking in conclusion. Finally, he had given up in despair, as there were very grave doubts in his mind that such a character existed. Our chief asked him if he were brought face to face with this man, did he think he would know him, and how would he recognize him? Weldon replied, "You have touched upon a subject that has been the greatest motivating ideal of my whole life. You will never know the absorbing interest with which I have looked forward to some sign of actual truth of the man's existence in bodily form upon this earth. Each year my doubts have grown stronger until I have despaired of ever finding a trace that I can place full confidence in. However, there has always been something away back somewhere that I might define as a vague thought or ray of hope that sometime, somewhere, if I could meet this man face to face without a suggestion from any outside source, I would know him positively. Instinctively, this thing wells up before me, and I say this to you. I have never before voiced it. I know I would know him. This is the most sincere feeling I have ever experienced, and if you will pardon me for the repetition, I will say again, I know I would know him. That evening, as we were preparing to retire, our chief came to us and said, "You all heard the conversation regarding the man Jesus this afternoon. You recognize the sincerity of our friend. Shall we invite him to go with us? We do not know, nor have we any way of determining whether this man that is known as Jesus of Nazareth will be at our destination. We cannot check his movements. In fact, we only know that he has been there. If we invite Weldon to go, and the man is not there, will it not result in further disappointment and serve no good purpose? Weldon seems anxious to go with us, since none of us knows that this man Jesus will be there. There will be no suggestions from any of us in any way. In this, I think the time is auspicious. We all agreed. The next morning our chief invited Weldon to accompany us. Instantly his face lighted up with anticipation. After a moment's reflection, he said he had an assignment for the following Wednesday, and we were obliged to return by that time. As this was Thursday, he would have 6 days. Our chief thought the time sufficient, so we decided to leave that afternoon. We went well, and we reached our destination before noon of the second day. As we arrived, we noticed a group of 12 people sitting together in the garden of the lodge we were to occupy. As we approached, they all arose, and the owner of the lodge came forward to greet us. In the group, we saw the man, Jesus, standing. Before anyone could say a word or make a suggestion, Weldon had stepped from our midst with both hands extended and with joyous exclamation rushed forward, clasping Jesus' hand in his, saying, "Oh, I knew you! I knew you! This is the most divine moment in my whole life." When we realized what had taken place, there was something akin to divine joy that swept through us as we beheld the rapture of our friend. We stepped forward and exchanged greetings as Weldon was introduced to the group. After lunch, while sitting in the garden, Weldon said to Jesus, "Won't you talk to us? I have been waiting a lifetime for this moment." There was a silence for a few moments, then Jesus began. "In the silence of the hour, I would have you know that the Father to whom I speak and who dwells within me, in the same loving Father who dwells in all and to whom all can speak and know just as intimately as I do. A breath of wondrous glory sweeps across the chords that vibrate with a life pure and divine. It is so pure that the waiting silence stops and intently listens. The fingers of the great and knowing one of yourself touches your hand with lingering softness, and the voice, as always, is telling you of the Father's great and glorious love. Your voice is saying to you, I know you are with me, and together you and I are God. Now the Christ of God stands forth. Won't you erase every limitation and stand with me in spirit? Greater thoughts have not been given than these I give unto you. It does not matter that men say it cannot be. You, each one of you, are standing forth the divine Master, conquering and in full dominion, just as you have seen me conquer. The time is here. The fulfilling pure thought that you have sent out to the divine Master has come to fruition in your own body, and the soul has taken complete command. With me you soar to heights celestial. We lift these bodies up until their shining radiance becomes a blaze of pure, white light, and together we have returned to the Father from whence all have come forth. God our Father is pure light, emanation, and from this vibrating light all come forth. In this vibration all stand together with God. In these vibrating emanations of light, all material consciousness is erased, and we see creations projected forth from the formless into form. All things renewed every instant. In the primal cosmos, aqueous or God substance, all things exist, and because of that existence, the vibrations are so high that none perceive them. Unless one stands forth in spirit as we do, it is necessary to raise the vibrations of the body to spirit vibrations. Now we can see creation going on all the time as creation is caused by the radiation of cosmic light vibrations generated in the great cosmos. And this radiation is a great universal life or light energy that sustains all and is called the father of radiation or vibration. It is the father of radiation because its radiation will shatter any other radiation or vibration. In reality, it only sets them aside in order that other forms may take their place. When our body vibrates in tune with spirit vibrations, we are light vibrations, the greatest of all vibrations, God, the Father of all vibrations. It will soon be proved that these cosmic rays constitute such a terrific bombardment that they are destructive to so-called matter. These rays are from the source of all energy, the father of all elements, the source from which all elements come. This is not destruction. This is transmutation from so-called matter to spirit form. It will soon be known that these cosmic rays have such tremendous penetrating power that they penetrate through all mass, shattering as it were the very heart or nucleus of a so-called atom, transmuting it into atoms of other substance and thereby creating other elements of higher order. And in this way, creation advances into a higher emanation of pure light, or life itself. These radiations, which have such tremendous penetrating power, are readily distinguished from all radiations coming from the Earth or Sun galaxy, and have complete control over all these radiations or vibrations. It will soon be known that these radiations come from a universal source, unseen, and that the earth is continuously subject to a terrific bombardment of these rays that are so potent they change or transmute atoms of one element into the infinite particles of another element. It will also be found that when this cosmic ray strikes the nucleus of an atom, it does shatter it. It separates the atom into the minute particles of another substance, causing transmutation of a lower to a higher element. Thus, these radiations do not destroy matter. They transmute it from the lower to a higher element, from the material to spiritual. This higher element is a man dictates. It is higher as he names and uses it for the higher purpose. When man stands forth the spiritual vibrations, he can fully determine and regulate these rays and their mode of action. Thus, to man standing in spiritual vibrations, transmutation is going on all the time, all about him. Transmutation is but creation in the higher sense. Thus, all are created where they stand. Creation never ceases. It is continuous, never ending. The emanations of radiations from the cosmos are made up of light and are composed of so-called light bullets that burst forth from the cosmos. This greater universe is around and encloses and surrounds all universes. So, to the extent that the suns absorb and bring into its central sun, conserve, concentrate, and build up all the energy that is dissipated from the universe. The central sun becomes so full of vibrating, pulsing energy, and this energy becomes so condensed that the so-called light bullets are shot out with such radiating force that when they collide with the nucleus of another atom, that atom is shattered but not destroyed. Its particles are transmuted into particles of other elements, which are finally assimilated into the elements to which they belong. Then that element comes to life. Life is the energy that is released by this so-called bombardment of light bullets, and that portion absorbed by the particles released is called the life of the particle, or of the whole element, while the portion of the energy released but not absorbed as life is returned or drawn back to the cosmos, as it were. It is again concentrated and condensed until it can be again shot forth to collide with and shadow other atoms, thus creating the particles that go to create the atom of another element. Thus creation is continuous, everlasting, expanding, and concentrating, then through reduced vibrations condensing it into form. This intelligent emanating energy is God, controlling the universe around us, as well as controlling the universe of our bodies, which are spiritual and not material. This transmutation is not disintegration. The intelligent soul directs that only a few of these light bullets strike the nuclei of other atoms at a time ratio and in complete conformity to law, so that no manifestation is overbalanced. Man, one with his supreme intelligence, can, in an orderly way, step up this impingement so that his needs are fulfilled instantly. In this way, man hastens the slow process of nature. He does not interfere with nature, he works with nature at a higher rate of vibration than that in which nature works in the lower order of concepts. Lift up your eyes and look on the fields, for they are white already to harvest. St. John 4:35. All is vibration and corresponds to the plane or field upon which vibration acts. The planes or fields spoken of have no reference to concentric bands or shells that surround the Earth. These concentric shells or layers are ionization bands which enclose the Earth and reflect back vibrations originating on the Earth, but they do not impede or shut out cosmic light rays. It is through them that transmutation or creation is going on all the time. Even our bodies are transmuted from a lower to a higher condition, and we become the conscious directors of this change by keeping the thoughts, and therefore the body attuned consciously to the higher vibrations. Thus we attune the body consciously to a higher vibratory rate, and we become that vibration. In this condition, the matter waits. As you stand now, you are master, you are ruler over all conditions. Now you know that the glory and the consciousness of a divine creation is far above any material thought. The first step is fully and completely to control all outer activities of thought, mind, and body, with the thought always uppermost that you are cultivating the habit of perfection, the God habit, the Christ of God habit. Do this wherever you are, every time it comes to you during your working or resting hours. See this perfect presence within you. Get into the habit of seeing this perfect presence as your real self, this Christ of God presence. Then go a little further. See a divine white light dazzling in purity and brilliance, emanating forth from the very center of your being. See it shining forth with such brilliance and glory that it emanates from every cell, fiber, tissue, muscle, and organ of your whole body. Now see the true Christ of God standing forth, triumphant, pure, perfect, and eternal. Not the Christ of me, but your own true Christ of God, the only begotten of your Father God, the only true Son of God, the triumphant and all-conquering Godhead. Step forth and claim this as your divine right, and it is yours. Every time you say God, know fully that you are presenting God, and you will do the world a greater service by so doing than by presenting me as the Christ of God. It is far greater and nobler to see yourself as the Christ of God, you yourself presenting God to the world and beholding God as yourself. You sit back and pray to me to intercede for you. It is wonderful that you do present me to the world as the Christ of God and recognize the God qualities presented through me, just so long as you do not make an idol or image of me, and then pray to that idol. The moment you make the graven image of me and pray to that image, you debauch me and yourself. It is well to see the ideal that I or any one else presents. Then make that ideal your very own. Then we are not apart or separate from God as such. Man conquers the world. Do not see the greater thing to be accomplished by standing forth one with us in God. If you cultivate this with love, reverence, devotion, and worship, it becomes a habit, and soon it is all of you, your daily life and existence. In a short time, you have brought forth divinity. You are once more the divine Christ, the firstborn of God. You are one with primal spirit energy. Actually feel, see, and take hold of this great light. Accept, declare, and know positively that it is yours. And in a short time, your body will actually send forth this light. In every age and every condition, all through the great immensity, the supreme light has existed. It is everywhere. This light is life. When anything is made plain, we are enlightened regarding it. The light shines forth into your conscious concept. Soon the light of life will shine forth to your watching eye, as it has to all great ones. Many of these great ones are portrayed standing forth in the great blaze of light. Although you may not see it, this light is real and is life radiating from your body. Here, Weldon asked if we might talk over some of the Bible teachings, and Jesus readily assented. We rose and walked out of the garden together. Weldon exclaimed, "Just think, here you have contacted these people, and I have lived in the same neighborhood and never recognized them. This day has indeed been revelation to me. A new world, a new light, a new life stands revealed." We asked him how he recognized the man Jesus. He answered, "You marvel that I recognize the man for what he is. I do not know how I know. I know, and nothing can shake that knowing." We suggested if he kept his assignment, it would be necessary for him to leave the following Monday, and that two of our party would leave for Darjeeling on that day and would accompany him. "Leave," he replied. "I have already dispatched a messenger asking another person to take my assignment. I am staying here. You just try to send me away." End of chapter 14.